Well, welcome to this episode of Prophecy for the Last Hour. My name is Liz McGee. I'm your host, and I have a lot of meat prepared, like I said, for the dinner hour. I'm putting a lot of oil in my lamp today. Today was the day, I shouldn't date this teaching, but it was the day of the big eclipse. In my opinion, a non-event. But anyways, I have three different texts that I'm basically going to read from. And I have a theme that I'm going to pull together. So I think if you stick with me, this is going to make a lot of sense. And I have, like I said, oil in my lamp. You know, lamp is a word. It implies, or it's understanding is like our body is the lamp. If you have a lamp, the lamp is the structure, and it holds a light. And it's made, the mechanics of the whole thing is designed so that if you plug it in, or even if it's an oil lamp, whatever, it will produce light. So our body has been wired to produce light if we get, the light of life in us, the oil. So oil represents what is supposed to shine. It's the thing you burn that will make the light manifest. So oil is wisdom and understanding. And so as you get more oil in your lamp, in your body, in your whole, body, soul, and spirit, the more you'll shine. Isn't that interesting? Anyways, on one level, believe me, it's an onion peel. That's just one of the layers of the onion peel. So the first text that I want to read from tonight is a Dead Sea Scrolls. It is a text, I'll tell you, it's called, I don't know that it has a name, and for me to give it to you, I'd have to look for a second, but it is, 4Q525, and it is a text that they say it's its own writing, but when you listen to it, it totally reflects what is in the Beatitudes, or what is known as the Sermon on the Mount, or the Old Testament would be Ecclesiastes, wisdom. So wisdom text. And it is, so I don't think the name of it is important if you really wanted to look it up. I'm reading out of Robert Eisenman's translation, The Dead Sea Scrolls Uncovered. But anyways, I just want to listen. It's very beautiful language. A lot of it is going to be familiar to you. I want you to listen to how often wisdom is referred to as her. Okay, I've established in many teachings, and it is Hebraic. And the female aspect of Yahweh, of Elohim, is female. There's the male side and there's a female. So this is wisdom speaking. This is the female aspect of Yah speaking. And it says, "Now hear me, all my sons." Now, just let me say this, a lot of the Dead Sea Scroll things are fragmented. So there are parts that are, I'm not going to stop and tell you, well, that was like kind of added, their best guess or whatever. It has a basic flow. There's not too much in this that's lost. So it says in column 1, "Now hear me, all my sons, and I will speak about that wisdom which Yah gave me. For he gave me the knowledge of wisdom and instruction to teach all the sons of truth. Blessed is he who walks with a pure heart and who doesn't slander with his tongue. Blessed are they who hold fast to her laws and do not hold to the ways of evil. Blessed are they who rejoice in her and do not overflow with the ways of folly." And again, the context we're talking is this is wisdom. Blessed, this is the Sepharith, of Bina, if you can receive it. This is all part of this is the upper wisdom. She is in the Godhead. These are all, but what you need, I'm not making this up. This, and you're going to see from 3 different texts, is all over the literature. They know what they're talking about. We are the ones who have to get up to speed and be able to rightly divide, rightly discern how these words are being used. Sorry. So, blessed is the man who grasps hold of wisdom and walks in the Torah of the Most High and directs his heart to her ways, and restrains himself with her disciplines, and always accepts her chastisements, and doesn't cast her off in the misery of his afflictions, nor forsake her in a time of trouble, nor forget her in days of terror, and in the meekness of his soul doesn't despise her, but rather always meditates on her, and when in affliction occupies himself with with Yah's Torah, who all his life meditates on her and places her continually before his eyes, so he will not walk in the ways of evil. In the unity of his heart is in unity, and his heart is perfect. So his heart and his mind is in unity. Yah, there's some ... here, so it's kind of Yah broken. And wisdom will lift up his head and seat him among kings. Now, I just have to, because kings, and I'm going to show you again, we're not talking about, see, we need, again, to learn this language so that we can rightly divide. This is all part of the transition of going into the Messianic age. Darkness is gone. Ignorance is going. We're coming into the light. Kings represents, in its highest, the Sephiroths of God. Okay, this is where we can be seated with him in heavenly places. The highest place of honor would be if you could sit with the king. Yeshua is at the right hand of the Father. He has been given kingship over everything, right? So for us to be seated with him, which he says in heavenly places, he is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. It says that wisdom will enable us. And this is Torah, as you've seen, Torah keeping wisdom, where you do not, as it says, despise his chastisements. You meditate on his ways. You do not forsake him in your afflictions. You know, and I said one thing is, most people I talk to, deeply spiritual people, we all have this, what I call hope deferred, that makes the heart sick, have things in our life that are just, it doesn't mean any amount of praying, it doesn't seem to make it fix itself, so to speak. But this is all part of the character, but this is all part of being in training, so to speak, as a son of light. You have to just hang in there, because a lot of what I'm saying, I'm reading this text in opposition to what a scoffer would be. A scoffer would be somebody who says, oh, how can God be good when he lets all these bad things happen? The true saint, the true person who has an indwelling wisdom, who has allowed the ruach in their heart, will understand with patience and perseverance we inherit the things of the kingdom of God. So back to this. So he will, in unity, perfect in wisdom, will lift up his head and seat him among kings. So that was my point. All right. They shall look upon, and there's a ... brothers will be fruitful. I'm not quite sure. There's a little bit missing there. Now, my sons, hear my voice and do not turn aside from the words of my mouth. Wisdom is speaking. The mother is speaking to her sons. We're her son. Okay. Listen to me. And I will give you words of life. Now, column 2, fragment 4, it says, and I'm sure it's a ... but it refers to wisdom, to possess her with his heart. Now, and then it goes on, ... with a deceitful heart. So there's a contrast here. And in wisdom, you shall not abandon your inheritances as to a foreign wife, or your hereditary portions to foreigners. Because, see, and this is another thing, let me say, this is what the Bible is talking about. It's not, see, on the literal level, there is always what they call, that's why I teach pards, and all the Jewish sages do. There are literal levels. I mean, there are such things as a foreign wife, or there's foreigners, but in this context, it's talking about a deeper reality. So in other words, you don't give your inheritance to a wisdom stream of bitter waters, or impure stream. So it's talking, if you're having wisdom, we drink from pure stream. We drink from the true living waters. Why would you drink dead waters, or waters that have no movement in them? Okay, so it's contrary, which is contrary to a foreign wife. She doesn't have an inheritance. Okay, that it is the wife, you know, and this is, I shouldn't get in the patriarchs, the wives, the inheritances came through the wives. So, but I make it, all right. They shall consider the Torah of God, protect her paths, and walk in all her ways. Her statutes, they will walk in her statutes and not reject her admonitions. Those with understanding will bring forth words of insight and walk in peace. The perfect peace will thrust aside evil. says he will keep us in perfect peace, those whose mind has stayed on him. I might not have all the answers, but there is a place of rest. There is a place of peace. It's what he promises. They will not reject her chastisements. Again, those with wisdom will be supported by the strength of wisdom. The intelligent will recognize her ways, and plumb her depths. And plumb, this is what I say, it's like the onion layers. It's deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. The lovers of God will look upon her, walking carefully within her bounds. So there's more, but I want you to see that this is wisdom. This is our mother. She has now birthed us. We have the Ruach. The Ruach is the feminine aspect of Yah in its sense, and it is another archetype of the dove. She rested upon. He was full of his mother, full of his father, but in terms of he had all wisdom and understanding. And these are things that we get this wisdom and understanding. It's very clear, comes from deep. And see, this is why the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, because the scoffer will not, it's when the going gets tough, I don't know, or our hireling will not stay and stick it out through the good times and the bad times, okay? We have to, the true saint will hang in there and have a level of peace and understanding, because even today, like, there's a lot of things we don't understand, and things are, apparently seem to be spiraling out of control, but see, they're really not. They're not at all. And, okay, so let me now just end. There's another whole paragraph to this particular scroll. Your soul shall be delivered from all evil. The dread of your enemies should not come near you. He will cause you to inherit and fill your days with goodness, and in abundant peace you shall delight. You shall inherit glory. Even though you pass away to your eternal abode, you shall inherit. And there's more here. But the last, column 5, which has a lot of ... in it, has a very interesting phrase. And it says darkness, poison. And they're not really, so obviously we're talking about the other side. All those born serpents, these are just some words and they're not connected, but you can sort of see they all got darkness, poison, serpents. And you will go to him and you will enter, there will be joy. All right, so the contrasting that, there will be joy on the day the mysteries of God are revealed forever. So this is the contrast, and this is what I'm talking about, because I am about the holy mysteries now. I understand he has saved the best wine for last. Wine is another word. Wine represents wisdom. Wine represents understanding. That's why when you drink wine, and again, it isn't, drinking in the Bible was never the intention of getting drunk. That is debauchery. That's a whole different issue. They enjoyed the fruit of the land, and that's in its pashat level, and it makes the heart merry. Wisdom, even a little taste of wisdom or a glimpse of deeper, makes the heart merry. It lifts your spirits. It connects your soul to what they call the supernal world. So this is why, how you have to understand how wine, it is not, and see, this is another thing about the scoffers. They don't understand how to keep things pure. To the pure, all things are pure. Okay, I have no problem with, I don't want to get into all that, but wine is an interesting word to study, and in its deeper sod level, it is talking about understanding the richness of the fruit of the soil, of when it yields its fruit, its nuggets. Okay, so anyways, let me go into just Proverbs here real quick in the Septuagint, so to speak, the Old Testament writings, and again, this is what the exoteric understanding, okay? A lot of this in the Dead Sea Scrolls, many of the scrolls we found are very esoteric writings. That's why people are having a really hard time, because we have not been schooled in this whole concept of esoteric and exoteric. We have just let our enemy totally run away with it, and it's time that we reclaim it and have an understanding, kind of grow up and understand what this is all about. So anyways, in Proverbs 9, talks about wisdom, and again, wisdom, same thing, has built her house. Again, they translate, has built her house. She has hewn out 7 pillars. Now, again, that is referring in the decade, the Sepharith, the 7 Sepharith that are right below the upper, it's called the upper heaven, the upper world. Okay, this is the when they call it the mind. Okay, but she has hewn out its 7 pillars. See, it's the world. The word was. I can't. It's all very good. But see, the great thing is, I'm getting it. This is very exciting to me because I can read this stuff and I can immediately see the deeper way the words are used. I'm getting to understand. I've got it great. How these words are really used on their deeper level. So for people who, if you're starving, which we are starving today, most people, on the Word of God, because we don't have any of these deeper levels, and we refuse. Even though Christianity will put you in such a mindset that you will refuse the food. The table's been laid before you, the smorgasbord is before you, and in your mind, if this is what's crazy, you will stand there and you will absolutely refuse it. But whatever. So, anyways. She has set out her maids. Wait a minute. Right. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out its 7 pillars. She has prepared her meat and mixed her wine. Okay, see, this is just like what I said, prepared her meat. The meat of the word, the deepness of it. It's not, we never have to apologize for our Bible. I'm telling you what, I got some, it is the most cosmic code on the planet. There's nothing like it, but we just never knew. We were not taught, all right, how that it was there, but now we're getting taught. The Ruach is pouring out and raising up an army of people, the elect of the last days, who are going to get this. So anyways, but she has prepared her meat and mixed her wine. It's referring to, again, wisdom and knowledge, meat and wine. Okay, a feast, right? A banquet. This is what he says in another Isaiah talks about. A banqueting table will be laid on the mountains of Israel. And I'll just tell you this one is a pretty mountains. This is right from another Dead Sea Scrolls where they'll interpret it. Mountains, the mountains are the prophets. That's one of their absolute, nobody's saying there's not specific mountains. There's not a Mount Moriah and a Mount Sinai, all these things. But what they representing on the deeper sod level, these are the prophets and the covenants and the relationships with God. This scripture interprets the mountains are the prophets, they who were sent to proclaim Elohim's truth and to prophesy to all Israel. This is from Dead Sea Scroll 11Q13, which is the coming of Melchizedek. Okay, and that's another whole thing. Packing more about Melchizedek. But see, we have to understand this. Abraham, and the thing about a mountain, I've said this, is if you're in a low desert plain, which is kind of where we are, we're in the wilderness or in the desert, and you see a mountain, you can't miss it. And usually the point you go towards it. Okay, so the story of Moses, the story of Noah, the story of Isaac, our patriarchs, of Moshe, these are mountains, in the Bible. I mean, the whole book is written around them. You can't miss them. So anyways, she has set out her maids, and she calls from the highest point of the city. Let all who are simple come in here. She says to those who lack judgment, come, eat my food and drink the wine I have mixed. She says, leave your simple ways and you will live. Walk in the way of understanding. I hope you can see this. These words are used. This is sort of, it's not anthropomorphic, giving God human characteristics, but this is what the prophets always do. They take something that's very common. Everybody understands the concept of eating and how it satisfies and how you have to ingest it. Okay, you drink it or there's participation and it goes into your inner man. Okay, and again, and I had to say, but this is the whole point. It goes into your inner man, and what is good you keep, what is bad is eliminated. Okay, this is the whole point. This is how every typology, it always fits. Okay, so the way the human body consumes food, meat and wine, and eliminates, is the same way how we're supposed to discern deep spiritual truths. Okay, and as you grow in understanding, that's why we have discernment. You need to get rid of the klipoth. Okay, the dross, the impure elements, the stuff in it that is no good. And if you You can just go on and on with these analogies. Okay, so again, you're going to drink the wine and you're going to leave your simple ways. The way the Bible uses simple does not mean, well, it kind of does, keep it simple, stupid. The unlearned. Okay, those who are living on milk are the simple. Okay, babies, and this is the thing, too, babies, you don't fault a baby for being a baby, but you certainly would fault an adult who is still trying to live on baby food. That would be very odd. That's very odd. So why do we do that? It makes no sense, okay? So what I'm saying is everything needs to be age appropriate. It's okay. I'm going to continue to show you more on that. So I wanted to just kind of tie those two together. And now this is a great text here. This is from a quote from the Zohar, okay? But this is how I have to show you how, and the more and more, like I said, I'm really getting ready to just, gosh, I keep saying it right about, come right out with the keys, because I'm really too much now of how these words are used. And this is going to help us so much to rightly divide and to get back to the Hebraic mindset. But anyways, this is from the Zohar. This is just to show you how encrypted and encoded, and those aren't even probably really right words, how they wrote on different levels. And they were communicating, they knew this is what you would be taught. So when they would read it, like what I read in Proud, I'm beginning to understand what meat and wine are referring to on deeper levels. What is the spiritual truth behind it? So here's some from the rabbis. The following, okay. For behold, the Lord, the eternal host, the eternal of hosts, okay, the Lord of the armies, doth remove from Jerusalem and from Judah stay and staff. I hope that's a familiar. Every stay of bread and every stay of water. Okay, so at first glance, what's he talking about? Why would he take away bread and water, right? The stay of, but this is what it's interpreted as. Okay, the hero and the men of war. This is, I wonder if this is Isaiah 3, 1-4. Hold on a second. I just have to see if that's what he's quoting from. Then I can give it to you. Yeah, here, I'll read it. Okay, I didn't, okay. This is right from my Bible, Isaiah 3. See now, the Lord Almighty, Yahweh Elohim, is about to take from Jerusalem and Judah both supply and support. Okay, translation. So you got supply and support, you got stay and staff, okay? All supplies of food and all supplies of water, the hero and warrior, the judge and prophet, the soothsayer and elder, the captain of 50 and man of rank, the counselor, skilled craftsman and clever enchanter. I will make boys their officials, and mere children will govern them. People will oppress each other, man against man, neighbor against neighbor. The young will rise up against the old, the base against the honorable. Okay, so now let me give you the Zohar, which is the sod level understanding of this, and see some of the things that they say. It's fascinating. So the stay, or and it said here, the stay supply, because I think stay refers to bread, so supply, okay, refers to those who are learned in the law. So we're not even talking, this is on a subtle level. See, this is what I'm saying. They take something that's very familiar to people, a concept, and they give it spiritual understanding. All right, and if you don't have it, then if that's the key, then you're not going to get it. So the stay are learned in the law. These are the rabbis, the sages. Staff, these are the learned in the Mishnah. Okay, and it's going to give you a lot of the different Hebraic writings because there are so many. Let me see if I can find this quote. When you really get deep into I really want to find this. Hold on a second. I don't know if I'm going to find it. All right, but there's so many different writings. You have the Halakha, the Mishnah, the Talmud, all these different things. And what we have to do is, we have to educate ourselves about what these writings are. Everything was given within, this is part of the birthright of Judah. And we need to understand it and appreciate it, because they have paid dearly and they will get a great reward. They have kept the writings in the house. Okay, and if you understand the two houses, in their house, because they have stayed like the elder brother in the house close to the father. Okay, so these are the learned in the Mishnah. Papa and the rabbis differ in respect to this. Papa, that's our, all right, let me not get too many of these. Okay, one says that there were 600 sections of Mishnah. Another says there were 700. I mean, the rabbis, I'm just doing the big overview on the plane going over high. Every stay of bread. These are the learned in Talmud as it is written. Proverbs, I'm going to read this in Proverbs 6:5. Okay, so let me go back there to Proverbs 6:5. No, that's not what we're talking about. Oh, no, it's 9:5. I have, all right, 9:5. Well, okay, that's what I read before. I'm sorry. When I talked about come eat my food and drink the wine that I have mixed, it's referring to those who are learned in the Talmud, okay, because it's talking about the stay of bread. So meat and bread are kind of interchangeable. I mean, they're both, heavy, substantive things, so to speak, that people would eat. Okay, so that's why they're used interchangeably like that. So every stay of bread, these are the learned in Talmud. And okay, I know people, Talmud could be a trigger word to people. These are their deep commentaries. I mean, I know, and a lot of it, I don't think we got to grow up and start being so offended and understand the Hebraic mind. Understand, I don't have this huge Talmophobia. I guess, I don't know if that's such a word. Okay, anyway. Come eat of my bread and drink of the wine which I have mingled. Okay, and that was everything of what I just was reading to you. And every stay of water. These are the learned in Agada. Okay, now Agada is another type of rite. I think those are the legends. Okay, see, I wish I had this. I have this probably written down somewhere. I haven't really memorized. So I'm thinking that Agada refers to the stories, the legends, okay, the history. The Talmud is a lot of the commentary. Okay, so then we have, those are the learned in the Agada who draw a man's heart like water by means of Agada. The hero, this is the man versed in oral tradition. Okay, because back to where I was talking in Isaiah. Let's go back there, because this is going back to Isaiah 3. Hold on. Because again, this is why translations, oh my gosh, it gets crazy, because these words gets translated sometimes so differently. But it says the hero and the warrior. So already we are talking about, he's going to take from Jerusalem supplies, but he's talking about their learned men. He's talking about those who can teach Torah. So that all of a sudden they're going to become, they're going to become famished. They're going to become poor. They're not going to have any real sustenance. They're going to wither away. They're going to kind of like die on the vine. This is sort of it. But the hero and warrior, judge and prophet. So we're down here to the hero. Then this is a man versed in oral tradition. Now, I told you, I've been teaching on oral tradition. And I'm telling you what, some people, we need to re-educate ourselves. Historically, and I have a video on this, you should watch it. Historically, in the ancient world, they considered an oral tradition higher. It took more brain power, and it was a more disciplined and higher mode of transmission than written. I'm just telling you, it's a fact, okay? And how they had all these ways of memorization. Of course, their minds were better, I believe. But this is what we have. So the oral Torah is the oral tradition, how they pass down from master to disciple these deep understandings. A lot of this stuff was not written down until the 12th century. This is the history of the thing, but they sure kept it. And I will show you more quotes later. Master to disciple, within. So the hero is the man versed in the oral tradition. The man of war, this is he who knows how to handle matters in the battle of the law. Because this is the thing. I mean, if anyone's familiar already with early Judaism at the time of Yeshua, you have the school of Hillel and the school of Shamiel. I think I got that right, but I know it's Hillel and Shami. And there are all these battles of the Torah going over, battles over the law. Okay, and this is a big deal. Interpretation, you know, they would fight for correct understanding. And this is one thing I'm really beginning to understand. Oh my gosh, it is a propaganda war. Honest, you cannot sleep. Your enemy doesn't sleep. You can't sleep. You have to be vigilant always to keep the truth straight and being passed down. So we have someone here now who is called the man of war, who knows how to handle matters in the battle of the law. The judge, this is the magistrate who gives decisions faithfully. The judge, like Moshe he anointed 70 judges in Israel, men who were able to give decisions based on Torah understanding faithfully. Didn't take a bribe, you know, didn't play favoritism, didn't get lazy, you know, got to the bottom of things. This is the judge. Okay, and these are all the things that he's about to take away from Jerusalem and Judah. So we need to, okay, the prophet, and this means in its literal meaning. A prophet is someone who speaks for God. Very special class of people, but that's pretty much literal. That doesn't have. Then you get into the prudent. Now this is interesting. This is what I said before. The prudent. This is the king, as it is written in Proverbs 14:10, which I have bookmarked here, okay? Proverbs 14:10, it says, the lips of a king speak as an oracle, and his mouth should not betray justice. Okay, now, this is where the mountains who are prophets, who are also kings of the earth. Abraham, Yah said he would make him a king, a man of renown in all the earth. A lot of these patriarchs, this is the point, these mountains, these were kings in the earth, okay? And they are also known as their oracles. Their mouth should not betray justice. And you know, if you read in a lot of the extra biblical books about Abraham and about Job, these were unbelievable pillars of justice in their generations. I mean, Abraham, we don't even have a clue. We've never been shown this side of him, you know. And unbelievably given to hospitality and to justice. His name, seriously, as a king, went over the whole earth. He had a rep, and the same thing with Job. Oh, they put us in such a box. Okay, there should be a wise sentence on the lips of the king. And the ancient, okay, this is he who is worthy to sit as a teacher presiding over an academy. Okay, and that was a big deal. If you were over a Torah school, Elijah he's one of the ancients. Okay, Elijah in the school of the prophets, we still have that stream. Oh my gosh, maybe even just a trickle now coming down to us. The Essenes were literally a flood of that trickle in their generation. Okay, with Yeshua, this is the point. This is the knowledge stream that comes from the ancients. Okay, and he is worthy, and they would put over, obviously, this I think really does fall back into the Essenes and how they would, you know, people would go up in rank. We just don't have that. I say, who had up in wisdom, who had control, people who just displayed all the fruit of having complete mastery over all of their flesh, all of their passions, and had just tremendous understanding and knowledge. This is the person that you would elevate. This in the best situation, this is the person you're going to elevate. Oh, how things can get crazy. But the captain of 50, this is in accordance with, with the captain of 50. Okay, this is in accordance, what they may infer from this is that it is someone who is not less than 50 years old to be appointed over the congregation. A captain of 50, I mean, we're thinking of 50 people. Because this is, again, maturity. It's, you know, and this is, we would say, don't let a novice, you know, don't put a novice in a high position because they might get puffed up and fall. You need seasoned people to lead very important large groups or movements, arenas. You need seasoned, wise people, a captain of 50, okay? They even said the Kabbalah in the old days. You had to be 50 years old. I don't think you could even start to read it until you were 40 or 50. You were married. You were stable. You had a good reputation. You knew your Torah inside and out. They had all these boundaries around it. Okay, and the honorable man. This is he who merits, whose merits his generation is forgiven. Now, this is something that, you know, when I first started reading, I was like, what are they? How can you have the merits of your ancestors help you out? And this is something really deep, but I totally get it now, and I totally believe it. I even pray it. I'm sorry, people, but that on the merits of some of our righteous ancestors, you know, I won't even go into that. But it is such an interesting, you know, the great cloud of witnesses. There are many who have gone before us who've gone through exactly what we've gone through and have really come out on top. All right. And they truly are rooting for us. So, and the counselor, okay, this is one who knows. So I could go back here to Isaiah to see where he's talking about this some more. But the counselor, one who knows how to intercalculate years and fix months. Now, this is really interesting, and I can't get into this, but I did get into a little bit in this about to intercalculate years and Enoch and the calendar. I think this really applies to the counselor, somebody who can do the calendar, basically. I think that's kind of what it is, because there's a lot. And I mean, again, the calendar is something I don't do. I don't get into it. There's tons and tons of debates. Is it solar? Is it lunar? Is it lunar solar? Who knows, you know? But I have my opinion. I'm going to keep it to myself, basically, right now. But I don't do it because you have to study really deeply. I mean, you should study really deeply about it all. And there's a ton of information there that you need to go through to get a handle on it. So, but the counselor, in my opinion, one who knows how to intercalculate years and to fix months, that would be that person. And the skillful, this is the disciple who by his keenness sharpens the minds of his teachers. Didn't Yeshua do that? He was skilled in all the ways of the law at 12 years old before these other great teacher sages of his generation. He was skillful. See, and this is what it's, and they marveled that someone so young could have so much insight and skill in articulating and debating and pouring forth on the Torah. Okay? So, and he sharpened the minds of his teachers. And he was constantly doing that to the Pharisees and the others. They were always trying to trip him up, and he would always throw it right back in their face. The artificer, at the time he is unfolding the words of the law. Wait a minute, let's see, artificer. At the time he is unfolding the words of the law, all are made like deaf men. Okay, I'm not quite sure what that would be referring to, but he goes on to do the eloquent. This is one who, having knowledge of one thing, can derive knowledge of another thing. So, again, the eloquent, this is he who, having knowledge of one thing, can derive there from knowledge of another thing. I guess someone who can take from different disciplines and put it together and come up with a holistic theory or holistic understanding. I mean, that's the best way that I would try to say what they're saying. The orator, this is he to whom it is fitting to impart the words of the law, which is given in a whisper. Okay. The subject of the divine chariot. Now, this is, even after reading more today, I'm getting a little deeper on this one, but this is who is fitting to impart the words of the law, the orator, and then which is given in a whisper, meaning some of this stuff, like I said, some of the holy mysteries were so deep, they were only passed on in a tight, like a whisper, master to disciple, through the generations. This was nothing. They didn't publish it. They didn't write books about it. They didn't have big mysteries. Oh, I'm the one that's got this holy mystery. Come on over to my website. I'll give you all the skinny on that one. No, it's a very quiet transmission. See, they were charged with transmitting through the ages these holy mysteries so that the last generation, so that we, like Enoch says, we could have all this information now. I mean, I don't think we've understood anything about what's going on in the battle. I mean, the books were in the ground. I mean, this is the whole thing with the Dead Sea Scrolls. They were hidden for 2,000 years almost. That's how, I mean, Yah he just did that because that's how perilous the war is. We just don't really have any clue. Oh my gosh. Okay, anyways. Okay, on the divine chair. Okay, and what a whisper, one of the subject of the divine chair. This is a very, 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 very holy, supernal secret or mystery. Now, again, a mystery doesn't mean like you can never figure it out. It doesn't mean a mystery is something you're supposed to solve. Think of like a murder mystery. The whole point is you try to solve it, right? It just means that it's going to take a lot of work, and it's nothing that you, you just don't give it to your first graders. They just can't handle it. You'll have riot in the classroom. It just won't work. Okay. Now this is where it gets a little bit good here too, because it says how in Isaiah, and I got to go back to that. We've always had a problem. I've had a problem with this for years. I will make boys their officials, and mere children will govern them. I'm trying to figure that out in the natural. What are we going to have a bunch of 12-year-olds running the government? I mean, maybe they could do a better job than what's going on today, but that's not what it means, okay? These are and I will set up boys, let me see. Okay, and I will set up boys as their princes. Where princes would mean ruler, okay? So I will make boys their officials, the same thing. I will make boys or children their rulers, okay? These are men who are deprived of good works, and children shall rule over them. In other words, these are not people who are doers of the law. Okay, this is the one thing about the Essenes and why they were doers of the word. They weren't just hearers only. Okay, they didn't say one thing and go off and live another lifestyle. They practiced what they preached. A child is someone who's in training to learning how to bridle their passions and how to control their tongue, and how to, wait on things patiently and quietly and calmly. Okay, these are all products of good works. This is your fruit that is only gotten, through growing up and through staying with, like I said, in the Beatitudes, the Dead Sea Scroll, by staying with her, making wisdom your, sticking with her through thick and thin, and she will get you there. She will get you up to be able in a supernal, to sit with the king in the high places. But contrary, if you have no respect for Torah, and just like we are today, basically, this is just like totally prophetic of where we are today, people. We literally have children ruling over us, people who are completely devoid of good works. Now, if we're not under the curses, I didn't want to read this to you in the beginning, but I should. It says, what are the 18 curses? I mean, this is what it is like when you live under the curses, when he takes away from you your inheritance, and you're like beggars in the street. We're having children rule over us. Oh, Lord, help us. Come, Lord Jesus. That's all I can say. These are, and children shall rule, and another rabbi or sage said, these are foxes and sons of foxes. And this is where he called Herod. See, there's no difference. Remember when Yeshua called Herod, you fox. This is what he's saying. You're really a child. You wouldn't be in this position unless it was the will of my Father. You strut around. You think you're some great big bad, king, and you have all this power. You don't understand. You are clueless. You're a fox, and you are completely devoid of good works, and they were. I mean, the Herods had terrible reputations, but think about this in all ways. The boy shall demean himself proudly against the ancient. This is the whole point. There's no respect for the traditions of our elders, and that doesn't necessarily mean, this means our elders are our patriarchs, are our mountains. Okay, there's no respect. They strut, and this is what's all over our culture today. There's no respect. There's no fear of God for the ancients, for the wisdom. Okay, for wisdom or against ancient wisdom traditions. And people think it was all so bad back then, and they don't understand. Oh my gosh. We're the prophesied generation and of second Esdras, of Esdras, 2 Esdras, 4 Esdras, whatever. And Yeshua is saying in Matthew the different things, how bad it was going to be in the generation when he comes, how people were going to come completely lawless, completely carnal, no respect for the ancients, the traditions, the truth, okay, totally thrown to the ground. So anyways, these men are those who are deprived of good works. They shall demean themselves proudly against the one who is filled with good works as a pomegranate. Now that's another little interesting sign, and I won't even go into that, but there is great significance again in the pomegranate and what it represents and everything. But this is where, you know, the mean, or the, what is it called in the Bible? The beast shall you know, black shall be white and white shall be black. And those who think they're someone but are really not will parade themselves proudly against those who are the meek. Okay, the meek will inherit the earth, we know, but in the meantime, they quote unquote, the wicked are getting all the glory and thinking they're in control, and we're the meek, we're just waiting patiently for the thing to flip, and it is going to flip on a dime. Okay, so, and the base against the honorable, that one to whom heavy sins are like light ones will demean himself proudly against those to whom light sins are like heavy ones. And I just have to read that again because you just have to hear this again. This is exactly where we are today in our culture. We are under the curses because we've thrown Yahweh under the bus. Come on, people. There is the remnant. There is the elect. And this is the point. But the one to whom heavy sins are like light ones. Oh, it doesn't matter. Adultery, whatever. You know, you can lie, bribe, cheat, still do magic arts, be as sexually immoral as you want. It doesn't matter. Will demean himself proudly against the one to whom light sins are like heavy ones. And if you're getting there elect, we're like, oh my gosh. If I think a bad thought, if I say a bad, I mean, like, I'm all over myself. Oh my gosh. You know, the blood of Yeshua. Because we just understand. Oh, so anyways, but he had to see that. All right. So this is out of the Zohar. And then I want to go on here because there is sort of good news, because like I said, this thing is going to change on a dime. But I wanted to read from my last quote here. The Odes of Salome. Now, this is an interesting text. This comes out of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm 99% sure. Yes. Okay. The Odes of Salome. This is well, historically, the scholars will tell you there's a series of 55, 34. I don't really know my number. I forget. Short, like Psalms, or like their prayers that Salome, the stepsister of Yeshua, wrote. Okay, and they're beautiful, and they're highly apocryphal. They're highly esoteric, but they're beautiful. But as you begin to hear the words and begin to learn some of the deeper meanings of these words, and it's wonderful. Like when she talks about the crown, whenever you hear the word crown, that is talking about the first Sephiroth in the Godhead. That is talking about the Father, the supernal. I can't go into it, but the Ancient of Days, you know, and he's called the long face. You know, when you ever picture with the guy with the long beard, I mean, he's so ancient. That goes all the way. But it's to see these things, to see how they had this understanding. I guess my point would be, when you read the Odes of Salome, they're beautiful, and you can understand that she had a deep understanding of the keys and how to use them. And she had obviously a great ministry of praise and worship, of thanksgiving and blessing. So anyways, you should read them. Dr. Jackson Snyder has a great set online of translations that he's done that you can access by just Googling, you know, Jackson Snyder, Vero Asin Yahad. Okay. And then there's a couple online you can get too that are a little more Gentile generic. But I do suggest reading it. So, the Lord hath directed my mouth by his word, and he hath opened my heart by his light, and he hath caused to dwell in me his deathless life. Now, that's very beautiful to me, because his deathless life would be his eternal life, right, is in us, and it caused to dwell in us by the Ruach. He has directed my mouth by his word and opened my heart. I have believed in my heart, and I have confessed with my tongue, okay, that Yahushua is the Mashiach, and this has given me eternal life. I mean, that's basically what she just said in that, okay? And gave me that I might speak the fruit of his peace to convert the souls of them who are willing to come to him, and to lead captive a good captivity for freedom. We're to lead captives, we're to free the captives, and we're to lead captivity captive. I was strengthened and made mighty, and took the world captive. See, this is the power of the Ruach, the indwelling Spirit living in you, giving you boldness, okay? It's Peter. I was strengthened and made mighty, and took the world captive. And it became to me for the praise of the Most High, and of Yahweh my Elohim, Yahweh my Father, Abba Father. And the Gentiles were gathered together who were scattered abroad. See, it's so wonderful to see that verse. All right, let me just finish it before I come back and totally dissect it. And I was unpolluted by my love for them, the Gentiles. Got it? Because they confessed me in high places, and the traces of the light were set upon their heart. And they walked in my life, and were saved, and became my people forever and ever. You know, this is wisdom talking. Okay, if you can hear, let me read this again, because I was actually, let's start again, because this is really, this is Yeshua, as he is filled with his mother, filled with his father, because they have confessed me in high places, and the traces of the light were set upon their heart. Okay, so I asked someone who had translated this from the Aramaic what the word Gentiles was, because it is important. Because also, if it was Israel, it wouldn't really be, but if it was the lost sheep of the 10 tribes or something a little more like the lost sheep, Yeshua says, I have come for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But this says Gentiles, okay? And the Gentiles were gathered together who were scattered abroad. Okay, so this gets into, hope to wrap this thing up, this gets into a whole, I believe we're in the restoration of all things. See, you can look at this thing, you know, on the negative and get all, or on the bright side. The bright side is that Yahweh, the meek are going to inherit the earth. The elect, the righteous, there's going to be a manifestation of the sons of God. There is going to be a place where the light is going to get brighter than the darkness, and it's going to turn the thing, and it's going to continue to increase. And this is a deep Hebraic. And when I say Hebrew, I'm talking about really deep scribal tradition and understanding, okay? Going all the way back, you know, even to Abraham, he was called, okay? And he would be the father of many, many nations. And you have Joseph, who was out there as the coat, represent a coat of many colors, that this whole, the house of the Lord, that Yahweh's building, or the body of Christ, or as I said, even the new heaven and the new earth, the new Zion. These are all really sort of saying with different, the same kind of concept, okay? But this is important to understand. One of the things I think that trips people up in prophecy is not having enough of, I call the aerial view. You really have to understand this thing from, first off, the mind, the upper heavens. What do you have? The upper wisdom, the upper waters, okay, the head water, the Godhead, the highest Sephiroths. I mean, there's so many different ways that the Trinity. Okay, the Mother and the Father and the Son, Bina, Ketur, Hokmah, and Bina. Okay, these are always, but it really refers down to the mind. Okay, one of the things I'm understanding with Hebraic understanding, and this is, you're going to see, this understanding is really all over the world. This is why people say, oh yeah, a lot of things, there's truth in a lot of places, but they don't want to say, well, how did it get there? You know, and yeah, like, how did it get there? Okay, and if it's true, it's true. Okay, so this understanding of the Gentiles, because see, this is what I've taught on a lot. We are in the time of the Gentiles. Okay, this is what Paul instituted. Yeshua came. He was, and the Jews understood this, especially deeply Kabbalistically, the Messiah ben Joseph. The whole story of Joseph. And when he became elevated in Pharaoh's kingdom and became the viceroy, there's deep prophetic significance to all of this story, way more than I can even, kind of flush out in the next 10 or 15 minutes. But let me see how I can start with some of these. This is because I have always said this is what is said, and I believe this now, and I'm really having a lot more, that Kabbalah, which is the understanding of the hidden mysteries. Because remember when I started with my quote from the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I said here at the last comment, too bad there's just too much too much has been lost in these texts. And I always wondered, the whole thing of the conspiracy was somebody sitting there with a scissors typing cutting out things that were too easy to connect the dots. Who knows? But on the day when the mysteries of God are revealed forever. I mean, seriously, that's what we're going for. That's what's, and that is going to cause a resurrection. That's going to cause the standing up. There's a lot of things. All right. But there's a guy who started reading online a little bit, and he actually, I would recommend this. I don't really recommend many hardly at all, online, YouTube, or, I just tell people, if you want to study Kabbalah, just start with the volumes, get Daniel Matt, get the first volume of the Zohar, and just start reading it. Okay? It's going to cost you $35, and it's going to fry your brain. Guaranteed. Okay? But I always say stick with Jewish text. Just read the text. Don't get into all this. Most of what's out there is pop site, like pop Kabbalah, Madonna. It's just, and it's very occultic. It's watered down. It's syncretic, meaning it is just kind of mixed in with a lot of different other streams. You'll never be able to separate, like it said, this truth from error, if you don't have, first off, a totally Jewish handle on what it is, okay? So, which most Christians don't have. We just don't have it, okay? So I found this guy today online, and he is a Kabbalist, and his name is, so if you want to look him up, it's called the City of Luz, L-U-Z, the Luz bone. This gets into, like Jacob, when he wrestled with the angel, and he put a pillar in it, what became known as Luz, the City of Luz, which, again, this is all deep esoteric understanding. Jacob's ladder is sort of how this concept of growing in wisdom and knowledge, entering into the upper heavens, understanding supernally the mind of God. Okay, that's what it's talking about, people. God is spirit. So if you're going to know him, you're going to know him in his essence. His essence is spirit. These are deep spiritual understandings of realities that you're never going to see until you get to the other side, most likely. Okay, so this guy, so I don't have his name. Joel David Batsk. Okay, read some of his things. They were pretty interesting. I thought it was pretty good. City of Luz. But anyways, here he is. He has a deep, because I have brought on a friend that I've met, Abiyahu, who is a deep, well-studied Kabbalist. These are people who've read the literature, people, and it will take you 10 years to read it. And people who are just shooting their mouth off today, thinking that they can just dismiss Kabbalah and just, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're one of those children, okay? You don't have the good words. You don't understand what is being spoken of here. So anyways, concurrent with his traditional yeshiva training, Joel had taken a deep interest in the Torah's interface with world religions and Noahide movement. Now, I want to kill you and say the Noahide movement, that's how they describe the best of Christianity, okay? Because, see, a lot of this is he's still a Jew in the sense. But see, what I see are both sides coming to the middle. This is part of a restoration of all Israel. Both sides are coming to the middle. The Noahide, and this is something we need to understand. This is why, to me, Paul, I am totally pro-Paul. I get him. Yeshua came for the lost sheep. The tribes, the 12 disciples, this was a whole program to get the lost sheep of the house of Israel, especially those that were in all over the world in known locations. Did you hear me? Totally known locations. These people still would come to Jerusalem many times for the feast. That's why there were so many people in Jerusalem and on one of the big feasts. And when at the day of Pentecost, okay, they had come for Pentecost. There were many, many known. okay, lost sheep who were being able to be grafted. But there were tons. Paul was commissioned, I believe this, to go after the last people group on the planet, okay? Jew, remember, Paul says it this way, there's Jew, Gentile, and Church of God. Jew, Gentile, and Church of God. Well, again, the language, the translations are bad. A Jew, we know how's Judah, we don't have a problem. Church of God, that's the elect. Those are those to whom they belong to Messiah ben Joseph. See, I guess what it is, when you understand, Yeshua came the first time for us lost sheep, okay, as Messiah ben Joseph. The Jews they weren't lost, okay? They wanted, but the problem was they wanted their Messiah ben David, okay, because they would get the king, they would get a ruler, a king would come who would totally get those Gentile beast kingdoms off their back. All right, so I don't blame them. I mean, there's a lot going on here, believe me. But the point is, in hindsight, we're going to know Yeshua had to go after these lost sheep first. They're part of the plan. He said he was going to do it, and he had to do it, okay? And he was going to go after the Gentiles. And this was sort of a deeper mystery. A lot of times people weren't bothering to look deep enough into the Torah understandings, into the literature to get these mysteries out. Most Jews I don't blame them, okay? And the Essenes did get this. This is why, because they spent their whole life in Torah study, okay? That Joseph was coming before David. I mean, these are archetypal understandings, okay? But when Paul starts going after the Gentiles, that was a curveball, and that was like, wow. But that he knew it was there. So here is Salome, the stepsister of Yeshua, saying, and the Gentiles were gathered together who were scattered abroad, okay? Because one of the things when you understand with Hosea, when you read it, so many of the lost sheep went out into the world, they became like the world, and they intermingled with the world, so they technically became Gentiles. Nobody would have known them apart. And this is what's in the story of Joseph. When the brothers and Joseph came down, when Jacob, the father, and all the other brothers came down, and Joseph knew who they were, okay? They didn't know who he was. He had to reveal, and he didn't reveal himself right away because he looks like an Egyptian. He talks like Egyptian. He's got a governmental position of an Egyptian. I mean, why would they even begin to think that this was their brother, okay? This is a prophetic understanding, okay? The Gentiles are out there, but many of them actually are lost sheep. They're so lost. They're so out in the fringes. And so they're going to bring them back in, plus all those that are attached to them. And I was unpolluted by my love for them. This is what Paul said. Look, they're coming in, the Gentiles, you have to love them. And this is the big rub. There's a big rub today as we understand the place of the law. You shouldn't give up the law. What was going on with these Gentiles? But they had a law. See, this is what people don't understand. We don't have any schooling or understanding. What are the Noahide laws? This is something we totally lost. And I'm telling you, Hebrew roots people, you don't have enough understanding about the Hebrew, about the Noahide laws, and to understand that was the law for the Gentiles. And it was okay. You could be a righteous tzadik in their culture by being, and you could, in my opinion, you could still hear wisdom. Okay, this is the whole story with Cornelius. He was a righteous Jew. He got it, and he was living by the Noahide laws. Okay. And I was unpolluted by my love for them because they confessed me in high places and the traces of the light were set upon their heart. This is Yeshua. This is what he knows in his saying. See, I guess you have to kind of be able to flip-flop back and forth between, we have to love the Gentiles. They had to love the early church because Yeshua loved them, because Yah loved them. Because they had traces of light were set upon their heart. They were made in the image of God the same way. They had that same imprint on them, okay? And they did not have to become Jews. They did not have to become Jews to practice and to live out, as she says, they walked in my life. And they were saved, and they became my people forever and ever. There is a physics to this thing. I guess the thing is, I just think if we could understand this thing on a higher level, we could and just let me say, as Paul has understood too, there was also going to be an end. We are at the end of the time of the Gentiles, okay? So this is the other thing, why we're getting ready for a new paradigm shift. And whoever you are, Jew, Gentile, or elect, or, I don't know how to see, Church of God, these aren't separate religions. See, this is where the enemy has bogged our mind down, where we think that these are different religions, pagan Gentiles, and then you got the Jews, and then you got these Church of God, these Christians. No, we are all the same people. We are all, he is our Father, but he's gotten us in different chunks, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense. You have to see it this way. And it's okay. And he's going to judge everyone by their tongue and their actions, all right? And this is the thing. Yeshua has fulfilled the law. He is still fulfilling the law. But the point is, the law, I can't even get into all this. It's actually very deep, and I would love to talk to deep Torah scholars someday about all this stuff. Because okay, so anyways, what you just have to see, I wanted to say, all right, about the Gentiles, all right, because they're a little farther removed from the lost tribes and the lost sheep, okay, but they were brought in, and Yeshua made a way. Messiah ben Joseph made a way for them to be grafted in until we all come to this one big understanding where we are today, that we are all the children of Yah. This is one new man he's making. The new man is the new heaven and the new earth. We get grafted in. And if you don't love Torah and live Torah, you're not even in the running. Okay, there's certain things. But back to this guy, this highly trained yeshiva trained rabbi who comes from an unbelievable family of Kabbalists. This is related to the brother, comes from the direct line of the brother of the Vilna de Gaon, one of the most famous medieval Spanish rabbis there ever was, okay? He's done extensive research into the Talmudic, Mishratic, and medieval rabbinical sources concerning Noahites, Christianity, and the 70 nations. Okay, now this is the thing. The Noahites and Christianity, a lot of times to the Jews, and they don't like the Christians, because they persecuted. I mean, if anybody who studied the history of the Jews in medieval Europe will totally get it. Okay, it was a very dark age for a lot of reasons. Okay, there wasn't a lot of really good fruit, all right, coming out of these. The devil had so taken away, oh my God, the hero, the warrior, the judge, and the prophet, the elder. There was no understanding of what was really going on, okay? But he set about to really study this. The 70 nations is another code word for, like, the Gentiles, okay? And there's just too much information to try to paint with such a broad brush. But this investigation included many obscure and little-known Kabbalistic teachings about Yeshua ha-Notzri, which is Jesus of Nazareth, okay? Yeshu, the ha-Notzri, the Nazarene, which is a northern Essene, okay? And we've been through all this, oh my gosh. The role of Christianity, as well as the role of Oriental religions in our final generation. Okay, so he is studying this, and he's understanding that the present period, we are on the cusp of entering into the Messianic era. In the Torah world, it has always been known that the non-Jew can best access his true essence and mission. And essence is a big word. I can't unpack it. From an authentic Jewish perspective. As we are currently accelerating toward the edge of time, the Torah and her ancient sages are beginning to reveal that a key to the mystery of Jewish existence is also to be found in the eternal mystery of the Jews and the growing movement of Noahites, the Christians. In other words, God is taking him from his place, Yah, bringing him to the middle, understanding that there is a whole cosmic plan afoot, and there is going to be this meeting in the middle, so to speak. It is a mystery. It includes the Jews and the growing movement of Noahites, and they put in the Christians and the, what they would call righteous Gentiles into this mix. So it is happening. And Kabbalah is what is this deep understanding, I just want to say this about the Oriental. He started studying Oriental religions, basically, because a lot of this understanding, that's why when people go to Hinduism and Buddhism, I'm not advocating, but there is deep esoteric understanding. That's why people are sort of attracted to them, because they're not getting fed in the church, because we threw the baby out with the bathwater. They have retained some of these deep oral traditions, and it's feeding people. But we need to get ahead of the game here, okay? And we need to be proclaiming this truth as it's coming down from our Father. Now, let me give you a couple more quotes to this. Because it is the story of Joseph. This is the true story of what has been going on. Like Joseph is a prophetic type. Because the name that Joseph was given in by the Egyptian was this, and I'm going to butcher, I can't pronounce it, Tesavant Paneah. And there's like a more Hellenized or Greek way to say that, Paneah. But what it meant is he was the revealer of secrets. You understand something. Joseph was a highly initiated, and I use that word, when he went off, was sold away into slavery, so to speak, by his brothers. At 17, he was an extremely highly initiated young man of his own traditions. Okay, he wasn't some simpleton, face in the cell phone kind of kid. He had that kid left probably with the understanding of a 30-year-old of his traditions, of his Yahweh, of his God, of his Father, of who he was and who his people were, and of his Torah laws. He left, he was in that pit, but he left and went into a foreign country fully armed, locked and loaded, let me put it that, with the best understandings that you could have as a 17-year-old in his mind. So, that in and of itself is part of the story that needs to be told. But anyways, so this concept is hidden in every generation. Our generation's challenge is to put the pieces of the puzzle together and understand the secrets that Mashiach ben Joseph has come to reveal. Yet, even though he recognizes who we are, the question is, can we recognize him? Now, this is from the same guy, from a Jew, understanding that hidden within the concept of Messiah ben Joseph and these last days we're going is a great part of the redemption story. Okay, and I think that that's great that this understanding is coming. As revealed to him in his dreams, this is another quote of his on Joseph. Because, and I think I've done teachings on this, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and look at my YouTubes on the two Messiahs, Messiah ben Joseph, actually the three Messiahs. We see why this, and these scenes had an understanding of this, and why this language, you need to familiarize yourself with what is being talked about here. Let's see, this was as revealed to him in his dreams. This is, and remember also, Joseph had many high-level esoteric dreams about his future. Okay, Yah was talking to him very early on, and he developed a very close walk with Yah, just like David did. Okay, and so it says this was his destiny, which was revealed to him in dreams, and this is the destiny of every Messiah ben Joseph. This is the belief. So it's like, as he is, so are we in this world. Okay, we know this. We are ministers of reconciliation, just like Yeshua was. So he's seeing this. He's understanding this role, that the destiny of every Mashiach ben Joseph in each generation, and the mission of those God-fearing barriers of the Torah who attach themselves to his collective root. I mean, he just doesn't want to call them Christians, and I don't blame him really, but still. It is from, and this is the archetype of Yosef, that the mission of Mashiach ben Joseph derives in every generation. This is especially true during the period of the final footsteps of the Messiah. And this is where I almost want to cry, because as the elect gets revealed, this is the revelation that's going of Joseph and his brothers. Okay? As we become more, get back to our root and shine the true light that is in us, it is the same light, the Torah light that is in our Jewish brethren and in those who have attached themselves to this. So I'm all, this is what I can say. I'm done. It's all about the deeper mysteries. This knowledge, this understanding, this wisdom will change things, and I have faith in it. And I just believe the elect, we just have to keep plowing forward and just wait. Our beloved cometh. So on that note, I say good night in Yeshua's name. God bless, and I will see you.